I'm on the content creator beta, but this is my actual Omega Red. I have a 6-star rank 3 Sig 40 Omega Red on the live servers that I never play. I was super excited when I pulled this guy the first time, excited when I pulled him the second time to awaken him, and even excited the third time when I pulled him and added another 20 Sig levels. But at Sig 40, I don't think it's enough. I deal, 750 damage a second through my spores, and compare that to the 5-star version where I'm dealing nearly 2,000 damage. The Sig level of Omega Red, it's just too important. Even if I added all of my mutant Sig stones, that would only take him up to about Sig 88. And I still don't think that that is enough. But maybe I'm wrong. So today we're going to put it to the test. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some Sig levels. Again, this is the content creator beta. I don't actually have this many generic levels that I can add to the champion on the live servers, but I'm going to take him to Sig 100, and we're going to do a little bit of a speed test, another in the Race Myself series here, of a Sig 100 6-star Omega Red going up against a Sig 200 5-star champion, and we're just going to see what the results look like. Here's the mastery setup that I'll be working with. Of course, I have maxed out Liquid Courage, Double Edge, and Assassin. I'm even adding a point in Coagulate to bump Omega Red's bleed resistance from 90 to 100%, and then pretty bare bones in proficiencies here. I just recorded a run through with the 5-star Omega Red and this team right here, and now what I'm going to do is swap out the 5-star and replace it with a 6-star. And we'll do a live race here, and I'll kind of explain my techniques for using Omega Red. Real quick though, the synergies. Sabretooth is the most important synergy for Omega Red. It helps to apply the death spores faster, and they last longer as well. But this synergy here with Wolverine is also, pretty powerful as well. It gives plus 4% crit damage for each death spore on the opponent, of which I'm pretty consistently going to have 30 on the opponent, so that's a lot of extra crit damage. Then we also have 10% more death field damage, have a little bit more crit rating, have a little bit more attack rating, have a little bit more crit rating, and then even a little bit of bonus special damage here with Magneto. Now, speaking of Magneto, I am going to go through all of the fights with Omega Red except for one. The fight against Vision, it's just so boring with using Omega Red. Omega Red is not good against robots, so I will be using Magneto for that fight, but every other fight, I'm using Omega Red, including Wolverine. All right, so let's count it down. 3, 2, 1, go, 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 go. All right, and the race is on. Let's do this thing, man. All right, so Omega Red, go. I was slightly delayed clicking into that fight. My mistake, guys. I had to get the timer going as well. There's a few button clicks to juggle. But all right, we're in. We're dealing some damage here. Of course, I'm going to have a little bit less damage on my spores, but everywhere else I should have more damage. The yellow numbers here from Omega Red, that's not really his main source of damage, but hey, it's still nothing to sneeze at, especially when having that Wolverine synergy that I normally cannot have in most questing situations. I guess it's a little bit better now that you can actually have Colossus for that synergy as well, but in something like Alliance War, yeah, typically you're not going to be doing that. Typically you are going to be going in with some other champion in that spot, whereas Sabretooth is pretty much always going to be on the team. All right, getting a little bit of hits here, but that's okay. I got hit a little bit on the 5-star version as well. So far things are looking pretty close here. Looks like the 6-star is pulling ahead just a bit. Yeah, actually we pulled ahead a fair bit here. All right, moving on, next fight. See if we can keep up this pace. Now, I stayed above 50% health the entire time on the 5-star, so I will be doing the same thing on the 6-star, which means occasionally I might need to use special ones just to get some of that health back. But we'll kind of see how that goes throughout it. I had to use maybe about 3 or 4 special ones, something like that, throughout the run with the 5-star. But so far we are we're definitely ahead of the 5-star here. Now, I did go to Sig 100, which definitely is a bit more than I can do on the live servers right now. But I figured, a few weeks of the monthly event quest, I can get him up to 88 currently on the live servers. So 100, I feel like, was just a nice round number that we can, kind of look at. I could have tested this at Sig 40 as well, where I'd be doing a lot less spore damage, but I figure there's going to be people who can get their Omega Reds to all kinds of SIG levels, and this would just be a good reference point for people to kind of, you know, try to estimate how much damage they would be doing depending on where they can get their Omega Reds SIG'd up to. Okay, so we're extending the lead just a bit here. I'm going to break down how Omega Red is doing his damage in just a moment. This next fight is going to be a little bit more on the annoying side. Juggernaut always is, right? So if you're not sure how Omega Red's dealing the damage, I will get to that, I promise. But for the time being, I need to explain one other little disclaimer here with Omega Red. So normally, this is not the way you fight using Omega Red in something like an Alliance War. In Alliance War, you really don't want the opponent throwing so many specials. That's one of Omega Red's, just one of the benefits to playing Omega Red. He's not a power control champion per se, but what's nice about him is that the way that you can play him, you're not really generating a ton of power in the opponent. So although you're not going to be, I mean, technically his special 3 does have a power train, but just the way that you play him, the way that you slow down your combos. Usually once you have spores on the opponent, you might just kind of play back a little bit, wait for the degen timer to tick down, because Omega Red's heavy attack, it locks on the spores. I'm actually just going to launch this attack into his unblockable. Wow, he didn't even punish me for it. That's crazy. That's funny. But I didn't even care. I was just like, yeah, I just want to lock on these spores. But anyway, like I was saying, normally you kind of just want to use a heavy attack to lock down the spores, and then let the spores and the degen do all of the work while you're just kind of waiting for your next opportunity to land a heavy attack. So that's kind of a common way to play Omega Red. Being super aggressive like this in Realm of Legends, because they don't have special 3s and stuff like that, that's not something that you normally do. So again, this is not going to be like the most perfect comparison, but I thought it'd be good, because there's also a lot of RNG in, let's say I took this champion into like variant 6 and we did a path in variant 6 or something like that. That definitely was a consideration, but sometimes you're at the mercy of the AI of the opponent. Ooh, look at this. I couldn't get as many attacks in because Juggernaut was unstoppable, and the 5-star actually caught up. That's crazy, man. Was not expecting that, even with my wild play of just launching a heavy attack and special 2 into Juggernaut being unstoppable. That's nuts. All right, so the 5-star is kind of gaining on me here. All right, so the way that Omega Red does deal his damage, though, there's a lot of sources of his damage, but the death spores, that's the #1 thing that you want to concentrate on. So the awaken ability is that once you have more than 10 death spores in the opponent, the opponent's just taking damage. You can lock that down by doing a heavy attack, and the death spores, they won't disappear. They disappear if you're not in close on the opponent, basically. So they won't go away while you have that heavy degen on them. And that heavy degen, I mean, that's part of the damage too. Just landing a heavy attack to apply that degen will cause some damage. When Death Field is activated by either having a bleed on Omega Red or by using a special 2, that will also deal damage based on the total number of spores you have. The opponent's armor, believe it or not, is actually getting reduced by the number of spores that are on the opponent as well. All right, looks like I've made up that time that I lost, and we're pulling cleanly ahead once again with the 6-star. But yeah, each death spore will reduce the opponent's armor by about 100. It's a little bit over 100, but just for, you know, you could just think of it as minus 100 armor per death spore, just to keep things nice and simple. So that's also a way to increase his damage. But that's, of course, it doesn't increase the degen damage or the spore damage. That's just for his physical attacks, the opponent having less armor. And unfortunately, that will not armor break the opponent the way that a normal armor break would, so you still have to deal with that. But since most of the damage from Omega Red is passive anyway, usually armor is not too much of a concern. So that's pretty much the ways that Omega Red is dealing his damage. Once again, it largely comes down to spores. You can normally only have a maximum of 10 spores on the opponent, but once that death field is going, you're able to take that up to 30. And while your Awaken ability does not actually increase in damage... Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Please don't kill me. Wow. Okay, well, this is gonna mess up the timing a bit here. I cannot believe I got blasted by that. All right, well, let's talk about special threes. This is gonna slow down my run a little bit. Again, it's not meant to be totally scientific, but the special three, it's actually going to heal Omega Red and power drain them based on the number of spores that are on the opponent. I swear I did not do that on purpose. We're still ahead of the 5-star by a good margin here. But that did lose a little bit of time. Sorry about that, guys. Man. So yeah, the special three, honestly, I don't use the special three very much. The special three is usually the opponent, because you're not hitting them too much, usually the opponent they're actually just dead before you get to a special three. And you want to use the special two mostly to get that death field active so that you can keep the spores up and all that. All right, I'm going to try to play this fight as quickly as possible. First, I'm going to get to a special three. I'm going to do, well, you know, I'm mostly just building power quickly here with regular attacks, but I do want to get in heavy attacks as well. Now that we're close to a special three, I really just want to maximize the number of heavies that I'm doing. Because you go unstoppable on the heavy, that's totally fine. Okay, we've got 35 prowess. Unfortunately missed out on the bonus damage there, but this should still do really good damage. I don't think it's going to kill him, but it takes him down pretty low. And from here, I can just do 5-hit combos, and I still have all that prowess, and the special one should finish him off. There we go. All right, so pretty quick, and that is why I used Magneto and not Omega Red for that fight. Technically, Magneto or Void would be better for the upcoming Wolverine as well, but again, this is mostly about Omega Red. That's the one exception to this fight where it's okay to use a different champ, in my opinion. So, all right, let's get back to the Omega Red action here. So his spores, they actually only deal damage based on base attack. The only thing that I've noticed will increase this beyond the base attack is an attack synergy. I guess the way the game calculates it is just, for some reason, they include that in base attacks. For all the old school players out there who did Labyrinth of Legends before we had rank 5 stars, you'll know that you needed 2,000 base attack to get the extended enrage timer, and actually synergies counted towards that. So for whatever reason in this game, the way that base attack's calculated, synergies are included in that, but masteries are not. So although Omega Red, you definitely want to be running Liquid Courage Double Edge, the Suicide masteries, you're not going to be increasing the spore damage. It just helps you to get, jeez, playing while talking, I'll tell you, man, sometimes it really gets to you. But it just helps you to you know, have that death fields early on in the fight. You get the regen at the start of the fight because you're basically bleed immune. You're so resistant to it, and then you get the death spore stacking above 10 with that as well. All right, we have a little bit of an RNG heavy fight here with Scarlet Witch. Hopefully, I don't get my power drained. Because, oh, speaking of, there's the power drain. All right, I think I got my power drain with the 5-star version as well. So actually, that's kind of good. Keep things a little bit more balanced here. You notice that I'm timing my heavy attacks so the second part of the heavy hits right after the degen goes away, because it's either hit of the heavy will apply the degen, but you can only reapply it after that degen is gone. So just to try to keep like maximum uptime, sometimes I'll time it so that the first hit of the heavy attack hits while the degen is still there, but the second hit will reapply. Just because it adds a lot of damage, that heavy attack degen, and that does not scale with Sig level. It's only the death spore damage that scales with Sig level. So the 6-star actually has the advantage with that degen. It has the advantage in every other way except for that spore damage from the Awaken ability. So it should be about 30% better, just kind of all around, except for, once again, the Awaken ability. At Sig 100 here, I'm going to have to re-examine after this is all done, but I think it's about 1,500 damage a second compared to the 5-star Sig 200, which has about 2,000 a second. Here's another fight where it's actually going to matter quite a bit. So Wolverine, I'm first just going to stay in close, play this like any other fight until I build up 30 death spores, and then I'm going to pretty much exclusively going to be doing heavy attacks. So you can see I'm basically at 30 death spores. There we go. Now I'm at 30 death spores, and now I want to hit this guy as few times as possible, just so that there's a fewer chances for this guy to gain his regen. Unfortunately, he got a regen right there. This is an RNG focused fight. I did think about doing this with Magneto or Void, but the reality is sometimes you are using Omega Red for situations like this where you don't want to hit the opponent very much. So I thought it'd be good to include in the test. I'm not even going to be throwing my specials just because the special 2 is 7 hits, and that's just more opportunities for him to gain some regen. I did get a few regens with the 5 stars, but that didn't happen until later on in the fight, so we'll see how this compares. So far, I can't tell who's going faster because I entered this fight a little bit later. Ooh, all right, got hit accidentally, but it's okay because that applies the death field aura. That actually happened once with the 5-star as well. Neither time was it intentional. Technically, it might be faster to intentionally get hit like that. I don't know if it is or not because it does give him an opportunity to regen at the same time. So, man, we're getting a little bit more regen here with the 6-star. This is gonna be close, man. This is gonna be really close to see who moves on to the next fight first. This race, it's actually a really tight race. The other reason why I went with the Sig 100, okay, it looks like we are moving on first before the 5-star. The 5-star is getting that regen now. But the other reason why I went with Sig 100 is because I did kind of estimate that as a break-even point. Sig 40, I mean, I think we can tell from the test right now, Sig 40, no, there's no way that a Sig 40 Omega Red is going to be better than a Sig 200 5-star. There's just no way. But as it stands right now, yeah, Sig 100, it's such a tough call because, again, I would not be playing this aggressively in something like an Alliance War match where I'm just 5-hit comboing like crazy into the opponent, spamming the special 2s. The average Alliance War fight back when I was using Omega Red, I would use like 1 special and that's it, you know? And that was usually for the finishing blow kind of thing. Some of the longer fights, maybe a mini boss or something like that, or a boss, maybe you'd be using more than 1. But for the average fight, yeah, it was quite different than this. So I was thinking Sig 100 might be a break-even point. Of course, damage is not the only factor here. We also have the health to think about. 6-star Omega Red's got about 30% more health than the 5-star version. Not to mention the little bit of adrenaline healing that you're going to get to keep this guy more sustainable. Man, I'm getting a little bit of lag here. Like I clicked on that Hulk spot. I swear I'm not just trying to delay the run here. I do want to go through this as fast as possible. Which it looks like the 6-star is going to win, but it's really not by much. Pretty crazy, man. It does seem that Sig 100 might be kind of close to, like I said, that break-even point. The 5-star is still going to have stronger death spore damage, but when you factor in all of the other ways that Omega Red deals damage, his regular basic attacks, the extra degen that you'll have on the heavy attack, it would be a tough call of who to use, a 565 Sig 200 or a 6-star Sig 100. But I think the thing that's clear from this test is that they're so close that it's probably not worth the resource investment. Like if I naturally just pulled Omega Red 3 more times to get him up to Sig 100, then it'd be a tough call. But I don't think it's a tough call on feeding this guy resources. I think even though the 6-star won this race, yeah, there's no way that I can invest those Sigs. I'm going to need to get this guy to a higher Sig. All right, there we go. So it's about 1638 for the full run with the 6-star, minus, of course, the one fight where I used, Magneto for that vision. And I'm just going to, while we finish up with the 5-star, I am going to pull up the 6-star Omega Red in the account here, and we'll actually compare the two once again. So the 5-star version, he's about to finish. and coming in at a time of about 17:08. Okay, so like I said, pretty close overall. Once again, we're just going to take a quick look at the SIG level difference. So the 565 SIG 200 is almost 2,000 damage per second at about 1950, and the 6-star at SIG 100 once again is about 1,400 damage every second. So you can see that damage, it's a significant part of Omega Red's kit here. Otherwise, the 6-star would have blown away the 5-star. But that was an interesting test. I don't know if you guys found it interesting, but being the owner of this champion, I've been wanting to do this test for a long time. I'm glad I finally got around to do it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.